Yeah, welcome back. I think many of you might have joined the last week's meeting. This is the continuation of the last week's topic. So just a quick recap. So what we covered in the last week. So we covered the basic understanding of the functional programming, and then we jumped into the different releases of Java, starting from Java JDK 1.0 to till Java 14, whatever we have and what's upcoming releases. Okay, and then we understood what is functional programming and what's the difference between functional and object-oriented programming. And then we understood what is lambda expression, how lambda expression works, and we went to the method references, default methods, and streams. I think this is overall like what is lambda expression with some examples, the syntax, and we did some exercise on that, how easy it is to write a code in using lambda expression. And we did some exercise on the addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. So some of the calculator functionalities we implemented using lambda expression. And then we started understanding Java streams, what is Java stream, how my source information will be filtered out, or it will be processed, process the result and then gives the output, or the desired output based on my requirement. So this is covered in Java streams, and we did some experiment with filtering some elements on the list and making some list operations on that. And then we understood what is default method and why do we need it and how we can implement it. And then how to resolve the ambiguity. So I had a few questions last time. I left it for you people to do that exercise. So anybody tried understanding default methods? So basically this session is more of like it's like a two-way communication. I don't want to be like one way explaining the concept and just leave it as it is. So anybody tried that exercise which I gave? Basically, I asked you people to write interface 1 and interface 2 with the same method name. And what happens if in my class, if I have interface 1, interface 2 implements? This was the question that I asked last time. Anybody wants to answer for that? Okay, maybe I'll just quickly show you what was that example is. I think last time I took an example wherein I had some show method, which is basically test1 method here and test2 method. And then with the same name. So basically with this, we are supporting multiple inheritance. Let's take a case of I have some method name show and here the display. Then this is pure multiple inheritance functionality that we are actually implementing it using Java.
Sorry, your voice is totally breaking.
Hello, you're not able to hear me. That's what you are telling me. Hello, how about now?
Yes, I'm able to hear your voice clearly.
You're not able to hear me properly. Is it for you or it's for others also?
Yeah, we can hear you, sir.
Still, I'm getting the same.
Even I'm not able to hear you properly. I'm not able to hear you. Your voice is breaking actually. Can someone else comment on my voice? You're able to hear me? Others, if anybody else wants to comment, if you're not able to hear me, please let me know.
Yes, we hear you fine.
Okay. Okay, let's proceed. So The exercise was I had written this show method here and here also. So then I asked you people to implement interface 1 and interface 2, both of them. And it was giving error. So I asked you people to try it out, how to resolve that. So the way you have to resolve that compilation error here is you have to override that same method. Whatever method you have written, that method you have to override by yourself, and you have to provide implementation by yourself. So the other option is you override that method and call the respective method where you want to call. Let's say if I want to call this method, or if I want to call this method, if I want to call both of them, or if I want to provide my own implementation. Anything is up to you how you want to provide the implementation for that. The second way of doing fixing this problem, right? So basically this problem. Let me comment this code. Just you people to understand what is actually the issue. It's basically for new journeys. So if you see here, it's giving error because it is not able to resolve which method to call, whether interface 1 method or interface 2 method. So to resolve that, so what I told was just add public void show method, wherein you will provide your own implementation. Correct? Now, the other option is now instead of like basically I have show method and show method here, right? So I can extend this interface 2, right? I can do like this. So in that way, it will override this method and you will not be having any error. So that your subclass and child class will take care of that. So you don't have to do anything. There are multiple ways you can solve this problem. So now no issues. It works fine because I am adding my interface to subclass of my other interface so that I don't have to, I'll not be having any ambiguity because of that. This will be a normal way of programming, which is we generally do. But only thing is you're overriding your default method. Any questions?
Sorry, just can you please recap what is actually this diamond problem in Java 8?
Are you familiar with the diamond problem in multiple inheritance in object-oriented concept?
Yes.
Yeah. So in C++ we had that problem, right? So in
Yes.
Java we never had this diamond problem because we never support multiple inheritance in Java prior to 8. In 6, 7, 5, all these versions, you will not be having multiple inheritance support in Java.
Yes.
You have multiple interface that you can use it. Multiple interface using that concept, you can achieve multiple inheritance. Now, in Java 8 onwards, this multiple inheritance concept has been introduced, wherein with the help of your default methods, wherein your interface will have a default method like this. I have added show method here, and the same show method I have added here. Okay, now I'm trying to use both of them here. Obviously, it will give error. It will not work. This is what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Okay, so this is basically this is one demonstration for your default method. This is not actually what I wanted to explain. My concept was on the default method, how it works. This is one of the cases in default method wherein you're providing implementation for the default method with the by overriding the interface method, default method. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Let me get back to the actual topic for today. Any questions so far on Java 8?
If we extend the interface, do we still have to implement both the interfaces in the child class?
Sorry, come again. If you extend interface, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in the default method, multiple inheritance class, do we still have to implement both the interface?
No. I commented, right? I commented this code, right? There's no ambiguity here.
No. I'm not the ambiguity. The implementation, we are saying implements interface 1 and 2. So now we're already extending 2 in 1. So do we need
yes.
to? Okay.
You don't need. You don't need. You don't need it. can experiment that here. See, it works. It compiles. Okay. So this is another way of solving this problem. So there are other ways you can do it. You can add your static method also here. I can define static method also, and you can work with the static method directly. So there are many ways you can do it. Okay. Okay.
Is Java 8 commercial? In the previous slide, you mentioned that it has become commercial.
See, for demonstration purpose or for learning purpose, Java is free. I think for the commercial point of view, you have to purchase the license. You can't use for commercial purpose.
Okay.
Okay. I think from Java 11 onwards, they are coming up with something. So maybe I'll cover that in Java 11 when I come to Java 11 concept.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Okay. This is just a quick recap of what we learned in the last session. So let's start with the Java 9 features. So as you all know, Java 8 was a very big feature, very big release from the Oracle Corporation. So Java 9 is also one important release from Java, but it's not very significant changes, but there are quite a lot of features that has been added in Java 9. So I'm going to cover those Java 9 features here. So can someone mute yourself? There's a background noise. Okay, thank you. Okay, let's get started with the Java 9 concept. Now, if you see here, these are the high-level features that I'm going to cover in Java 9 session today. So, okay, so I'm going to cover the JShell. I'll explain you how it works, and we'll do some exercise on that. And then we have some factory methods to support immutable list, set, and map, and other stuff. So I'll explain, and we'll do some exercise on that. And Java 9 onwards, private method is also has been added. So earlier we had only one method, right? Default method. So in Java 9 we have Java 9 onwards, you can add private method also. And there's one very important concept in Java 9 that's called module system. So this is one more concept, and there are some stream new method has been added to the stream interface. And also there are some few more additional features, small features, which got introduced in Java 9. Okay, let me ask some questions before I start something on this. Okay, a question is, let's say I have some logic to write. Take a simple case just to understand. Let's say you're working for a company, and your company a requirement has come to implement a calculator. I have taken a calculator as a simple example because everybody can able to understand. This can be extended to a bigger business case also, and a complex case also. So now if I ask you to implement calculator, so at a very high level, you know what is the functionality of calculator. And now you want to write that code quickly and show, yes, it can be done. This calculator implementation can be done quickly. So how will you do it? Let's say within 10 minutes, I want to be sure that, yes, I can implement calculator. So this is basically a question. So if anybody wants to answer me, so what you will do in your day-to-day life? If I ask you to do that, so what you will do? Anybody wants to answer for this? Hello. I think we have 17 people. At least I expect 1 or 2% at least to answer for this question. This is the beginning of your next understanding of your concept. I'm just putting some questions on your mind so that you should know the Java 9 features that got introduced. What will you do if I ask you to implement calculator application? What is the first thing that you do? Anybody wants to answer? Please.
Model the classes.
Sorry?
Or we will model the classes that are required to achieve this.
Yes. Yes. You're right. You're right. You're partially right, but anybody else wants to answer? If I ask you to write a calculator class, what will you do? First thing, what will you do? Yeah.
Implementation of different types of functions.
Different, yes, you're right. Implementation of different kind of functions of your calculator class. Correct? Anybody else?
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. You're right. Anybody else wants to answer this question? What will you do? Okay. Okay. Here is the answer for this. So I think your good name, please.
Mohammad Zohair.
Muhammad Riyan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mohammad Zohair.
Muhammad Zuhair. Yeah, Zuhair answered me. Okay, so he's right. So what I'll do if somebody asks me to write a calculator application, first thing what I do is I know very basic 4 functionalities: add, subtraction, multiplication, division. And the other complex calculation features or calculator features are there, but I will not consider all of them. This is just to make understand the concept which Java 9 has introduced, where we can make use of all these features. Okay, so first thing which comes in your mind is okay, they'll have 4 methods, 4 implementation how to do: addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. And I know the logic, but I want to make sure that logic works on my Java code. Let's say you are a very newcomer and you don't know anything about Java, and you want to experiment that. How will you do it? You can't do it because you don't know what is class, you don't know what is public static void main, you don't know whether your class should be having public as a modifier in your class, and you don't know Java C command. All these things are there, right? So a person who knows the implementation of calculator, but he is not sure whether he can run that same code on Java platform. So he should know the basics of programming. That is writing a class, writing open brace, open flower brace, close flower brace. That class name should be matching with your when it compiles, it generates that bytecode. So for a newcomer, newcomer who is totally new to the programming language, for him it's like oh, what the hell is so? I should learn all these things to just write a simple addition method. Correct? Is this make sense to everyone? Because this is very important. Yes, correct. Hello. Anybody
Yes, we are following.
Yes, exactly.
You're following, right? You're trying to.
Yes.
I'm trying to make you
Correct.
understand the power of the concept which I'm going to explain next. Okay. Next
Yes.
question is.
Yes.
So I want to write a quick code that I should be able to verify yes, and I should be able to get the feedback immediately. That means, if let's say in your company somebody asks me to write some business logic, a complex scenario. Let's take an example of complex scenario. So wherein you will not generally in our day-to-day life, right? In our programming, in our project work, we have, let's say, a huge application in our workspace, and we'll not code there directly there. What we do generally, we do some small prototype in our Eclipse or some other IDE, and then we experiment that code. If everything is working as expected, then copy that content, put it to my project, and make sure this project this code is integrated with my application and run. That's what generally I do. So I hope everyone follow this approach or some other approach. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
This is what we do generally, right? So quickly write a code, business logic, and in some other environment, a very simple, easy to write environment, and copy that content and put it back to my big application. Because the biggest advantage with this one is if I write directly in my application, that's a huge application. So you have to compile, you have to run, you have to execute, and you have to go to your particular flow, and then you have to make sure when you execute that flow, you are getting a result, and you have to put debugger and all these experiments you have to do. Correct? This is like ridiculous for me. So why should you do all these things just to write simple code and just to make sure that code is working fine, right? That's where the concept of J shell comes. Yeah,
Okay.
this is the concept of J shell. So what is J shell? J shell is basically a Java shell. What is Java shell? So this is also known as a REPL, REPEL. That is called read, evaluate, print loop. Okay. This is the biggest advantage with J shell is, okay, it is very quick to learn. Okay, you can immediately start writing the code on Java without knowing anything on Java, without knowing public static void main. You can run this code. Okay, and you can add interface, you can add enum, you can add constructor, you can add statements, you can write a method, you can do a lot of things. We'll do that experiment when we actually get into the J shell. So many other languages already support REPL. How many of you have used console? Anybody used console? Anybody knows what is console?
No, sir.
No.
Sorry?
No.
No. Anybody wants to give
No.
it a try? What is console? No? Come on. I think console is a very common thing by most of the developers users.
Writing
Okay.
from command prompt.
No, we will not write it on command prompt. Console is, I'm talking from the web world. Web.
Not familiar.
Who is familiar with JavaScript? Anybody works on JavaScript?
No, sir.
In this team, nobody works on JavaScript?
No, sir.
Okay, okay. Then I think it makes sense that you may not be knowing the console. In JavaScript, a UI developer, right? Especially a person who works on the front end web technology,
Yes, yes.
HTML, CSS, and all, right? So
Yes.
when you do something right, if something goes wrong, it shows on your console. When you open up your browser on the, let me show you here something. Let's say this is my application. I want to go to my console. Do you see console
Okay.
here?
Yeah.
Anybody? So I think most of UI developers use this console. Here you can type whatever you want to do. You can execute some commands here. You can do a lot of things here. You can execute JavaScript stuff here in this code. You can write int a equal to a plus no, int a equal to 10. Not a, so var, it should be var equal to 10. Sorry. Okay, it is undefined. So basically what I'm trying to say is this is the console. Okay, let me get back to the actual topic what I want to cover here. So JavaScript supports console. That console is also basically REPL. Basically at runtime,
Okay.
you can write the JavaScript code and execute, and you can do everything there itself, then and there itself.
Yes.
Okay, so I think many people who is good in JavaScript, they always use console to execute their code. Python, Scala, Swift, all these languages support this REPL. Since Java lately introduced this concept, but it should have been introduced a long time back. Okay, so it's very late that Java has introduced this REPL functionality. Any questions before we get into the actual stuff? Okay. Okay, then I'll just jump to the next slide. Okay. Now, if I want to write simple print hello world, okay, this is the code I need to add. This is the code I need to execute, correct? I should have public class and hello world class name. And this class name should match with my class name of my file name. And you should have public static void main, and you should have this hello world system.out.println, correct? This is what anybody, a first programmer who runs hello world, right, when he starts
Yeah.
writing the Java program, correct?
Yes,
Any
sir.
question? So with the J shell, You can just execute this code. That's all. No class name, no public static void main, no command, no
Okay.
semicolon. You have nothing is there. Just execute this. That's all. Any questions?
No, sir.
Good. Okay. Let me start then. Okay. Let's now get into the actual. So we'll do all these exercises, all the 4 exercises. Okay. So if you install Java right in your machine, so I have Java 14 installed on my machine. So I encourage you people also to install Java 9 at least. If not 14, at least Java 9. It's good to install 14. If you don't want 14, at least install Java 9 on your local machine. Then when you type JShell in your command prompt, okay, so this window comes. Here, if you see the pipe, right, it says JShell is giving some information to you. Okay. Here, what is the logic for in the calculator addition? A plus B, correct? Any questions on that? It's simple A plus B, right?
Yes, exactly.
No.
Okay. Now, what I will do is I'll just say int A equal to 10. That's all. That means this line has executed. I don't need anything. I don't need any class. I don't need anything. If you see 20, please observe that I have not put semicolon here. Okay. Now, int C equal to A plus V. Okay. What's the value? 30. So that means I can root that business logic, everything here itself. Are you getting the power of this JShell? So immediately you are writing some code, business logic, and you're making sure that this syntax works on the Java.
Yes.
Any questions?
Can we use this in IDE the same with this?
Yes, I'll come to that question. I'll take it later. Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. For your question, right? So I'll answer now only because I might forget later. So in using IDE also, you can do the same thing, but for that you should have a plugin installed on your IDE. I think IntelliJ has some plugin wherein you can do the same JShell thing terminal in the IDE itself instead of doing here. Okay. Eclipse I have not tried. I think in Eclipse also this JShell plugin should be there. I have not tried it. Just explore it. So you should be able to find the JShell plugin, and you just add the JShell plugin into your Eclipse, and you can code there itself. Okay.
Okay, can we test the previous program which has written in other versions with the JShell script?
Other versions, no.
Maybe in,
no. To say code you can execute. Code you can execute. Yes, you can execute. This JShell is basically your editor, your Java editor.
Input output.
Sorry.
this input output everything.
Yeah. Input output.
Input output. I don't think you can do all these things. I'll come to that point when I'll show you the limitation of JShell.
Okay.
JShell has some limitations. You can't do beyond that. So those things I'll show you. Okay, this is basically the intention of JShell introduction to Java 9 is basically you want to execute a code quickly without writing anything. I took an example of a simple addition of 2 numbers, right? So this code, if I want to write simple, since int C equal to A plus B, I should write a lot of code, right? No, I don't have to write all this code. This I have taken a simple case. Let's assume a complex scenario. Here you are getting some list and you have to write some business logic to filter some list, and you have to execute the result, and you want to execute that entire code base quickly with like instantly you have to write, and you have to show that yes, it's possible, we can do this, right, using Java. I'm taking a simple case. So that exact code you can immediately start writing it. That's the advantage with the JShell. Okay. Before I do some exercise on the calculator, right? I want to show some. There's a help /help. If you put, so it'll tell you a lot of options. So what and all you can try. So slash list, if you see here slash list, right? If I put slash list, it will tell you what all the commands I have executed so far. Okay. If I want to exit from this, right? I think it is exit. Yeah, it has executed. Now go back to JShell. Okay. So there are so many helper commands are here. You can just try it out, all of them. So you can just try it. So I'll not go details of each one of them. Some of the important things is import is very important, where you want to import some of the packages and some libraries, some jars and all. So those things you can do. You can see all these things. So now if I say like imports. So these are all the by default imported packages in your JShell. You can add if you want to add any more imports to this. So here most of your basic stuff is covered. Okay, so this is just a taste of JShell that I'm going to cover. Not going to cover the details. Let me quickly write public void add or not int add. It takes two arguments, int a, int b, and I want to open the brace, and then return a plus b. Okay, so basically method add is available now. I'll just say add 1, 2. So here $2 is there, right? That's a variable where you can that 3 value got stored. Now if you put $2 here, it will print the value of 3, which is a plus 1 plus 2. So result is stored in $2. Now if I want to execute the same add method with, let's say, 1, 5. Okay. Now $4 is the variable which stores this value 6. Okay. So these are likewise you can. So I've just wrote a simple add method. You can write a direct subtract method, division method. All these things you can experiment it. Okay. Any questions?
So
Just
you mean to
try to
say
understand.
the methods are being represented as functions. Is that right?
Yes.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. So basically, I'm trying to write a add method here. That's what I'm doing. There's no class. There's nothing is defined here. Just a add method. That's all. Now you can try subtraction, multiplication,
How
division.
the $4 came here?
Sorry.
No, the $2 is storing the result of 3, and $4.
$4 is storing the value of 6, 1 plus 1, 5 for this value.
But we have not declared this.
Which one? Sorry.
$4.
No, $4. That is JShell has provided this variable, temporary variable, where it stores this value.
Okay.
Now, if I see here, what all operations I have executed, what all values it stored, everything is it prints here when you say slash list. Okay. Just try to understand the concept. That is very important. So the advantage with JShell. That's what I'm trying to explain here. Okay. Now I have a problem with this also. That I will come. Let's say I have to do some concatenating string. Okay. And we can do that sorting a list also. Let's do concatenation of the string. Okay. So let's say string s equal to, I'll say hello. Okay. I don't need semicolon. Now I have yes. I want to concatenate with a world, hello world, right? So if you just press tab, right? Concat. See, I just add con. When if you press tab, it will tell you what are the options available. Now I'm just using concatenate. I put s equal to concatenate with world. Okay, so I'm storing the value of yes here. Now if you press yes, it will tell you hello world. Any questions? So variable yes is the one which I'm actually storing the value of hello world. Any questions? So if it puts the tab on this, right? Let's say you don't know when you say yes dot, what all options available. Just push tab. It will tell you all your string methods which are available. All these methods which are available, right? You can do sorting. You can do index of. You can do reverse order. Everything whatever you generally do in your ID, everything you can do it here itself. Any questions? Okay. Let me get to the next one. Is sort a list. So how will you do sorting a list? If anybody can help me, that will quickly I can write the code. How do you sort the list? So basically, you have some a list of elements, and then you use comparator, and then put natural order. Correct? When you put that method, so it will be sorted. Correct? Right? Am I right? Anybody wants to?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
No.
So okay. So maybe I'll just skip this because I'll continue with the other stuff. So there's a problem with this. Okay. Now I've written so much of code. I don't know what all code I've written. See, so many methods I've written, so many things. Now, if I want to go back to add method and I want to change add method name to addition. Correct? It's very hard for me to go to that add method and change it. Basically, I'm rewriting the same code again and making the change. For that, JShell has provided one more facility called, it has provided a text pad, basically text pad or notepad, whatever you want to call. So wherein you can just type that content directly. Let's say if I put /edit, right? Whatever operations I have done so far, everything comes under this JShell. Here directly you can make the change and you can edit. So let's say I want to add something
Okay.
public string. I want to say connect greeting. Greeting is a message I want to give. Greeting message is basically, I've taken an example, a random example. Let's say condition is, let's say str, whatever method which I get, right? If str dot contains okay contains mail. I'm just taken a random example. Okay, you can write for anything. Okay, then str equal to whatever name comes, I want to append with Mr. Generally, we not write like this, but I just want to quickly show what and all we can do. Actually, I'm not writing the exact your names and all. Correct. So return str. Okay. Now, when you say accept here, right? You see here, created method greeting. This method got created here. This is basically a Swing application where this has basically JShell has provided a facility where you can do whatever you want to do it on the terminal, right? So those command prompt you can do with this pad, text pad. Now I'll say greeting. I'll say mail. Okay. So what should be the result? Result should be Mr. Mail, right? Something like that. You see here, $9, Mr. Mail has come here. So if I put female, then if I put other than male, it will just print Miss Mail. miss whatever value you pass, right? So I'm just trying to explain you how easy now to write the code. Assume this code is your business logic, a complex code that you want to try it out and you want to experiment it. Let's say this code is very complex code and you have experimented everything. Now what you'll do is you copy this code, put it in your application, start working. Correct? You don't have to have editor, you don't have to have IDE, you don't have to create a new project, Java project, then Java class, then public static void main. All these things, nothing you have to do. So basically, you're interested to write this code, which has a business logic. Take this method, put it in your code. That's all you have to do. Correct? That's the power of your JSON. Okay. So now, as I told you, like a list, right? I can do a list also here. Say list equal to array list. Then list dot add. Let's say a list dot add b. Okay, that's all you'll do, right? So there's a problem here because it doesn't know what is the next statement for this. So I have to put semicolon for that. So list you have. So then what I'll do is I want to just print list. List is empty. Why list is empty here? I have created a list here. So list should have printed here. It's empty. Why list is empty here? Anybody wants to help me here? Why list is empty? This should have been at AB, right? This is just normal Java programming. I'm not doing anything extra here. Anything I missed here? Any variable, nothing, right? Array list. Let me put string here. Will that help? No, this is also not helping me. Okay, so I'll just skip this. Just try to understand the concept, like I'm writing the code here and executing it. That's all I want to highlight here. Okay, this is about basically the JShell. So any questions on the JShell?
How do we save that program for features of reference, or how do we separate the one or two programs? Because
so you have to copy and keep it. Once you close your JShell is gone. This is a temporary editor. Let's say you have your notepad, right?
yes.
Notepad, you want to type something. If you don't save that notepad content is gone. Something like this. So whatever you have written here, save it, and that's all you have to do.
Okay.
Otherwise, the data is gone.
Okay. Okay.
The advantage with this one is I can write a class also. Let's say class employee.
Yes.
Is that answer your question?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Let's say I add some string UMP name. This is generally we do, right? For understanding this one. This is our employee class I have written. Okay. So if you see, created a class called employee. Now employee equal to new of employee, and if I execute, employee object E also got created. If you see here, E also got created. Next task is let's say employee.id equal to, I want to save 10. Okay. If I execute here, value E.id is 10. The values for this one. Okay. I don't know whether this will. Generally, what we do, we write some method, right? Setter and getter methods, right? Let's say if I type ID here, so I think it is not storing somewhere, so I have to store somewhere, and I can get this value. It is currently storing in the temporary variables called $17. So you can store that value wherever you want to store. And let's say you have constructor methods here and all, and if you execute those methods also, let's say I just add some method. Not a method. I'll put constructor. Okay. ID. Name. And this dot ID equal to ID, then this dot emp name equal to name. Correct? This is what we do, right? See, replace with class name. So class name got changed now. Now this might not work because this is a constructor, right? I have to pass some value to it. Let's say 1 comma series 1. Okay, employee got created. Now e dot id. See, value 1 got printed automatically. Yeah, e dot id. So methods also, this is a constructor method. So you can have your own methods. You can do a lot of other operations. Everything you can do it. Okay. So all these things, whatever you are trying to you do it on the IDE. Same thing you can do it in this editor. The only advantage with this one is you are writing the code quickly without any support of any this one, the IDE or class names and all those things. Okay. So quickly, I'll just show you here. If you just do JShell Open JDK, right? The official website for this one is see JShell Open JDK itself has provided that tutorial for you. So if you see here, right, you can do all the experiment. Whatever I showed you a simple example. So you can do all these things. You can learn how you can add this code and you can execute the code upfront. Let's say, see, he has taken Pi example and he's doing some volume creation for this and everything he's doing. So these are the complex scenarios that you do it generally, right? That this is something somebody wants to experiment something. So everything you can do it here. Okay. Let me quickly show till the down. These are different commands that we can use. And let's say you have some editor already in your system. Let's say you are good familiar with the Notepad++ or Sublime text, right? You can attach that also. All these things you can experiment here. You can just go through this list and you'll have better understanding of. This is the official website from the OpenJDK. Okay.
क्या कर रहे हो ये कौन सा पैजामा पहना तुमने?
Any questions?
Thank you. I think I'm good here.
Okay, I'll just close this topic, JShell, because I have to cover a lot of other stuff. The limitation with the JShell is this is limited to write a small code. It is not to write a very complex or a big code. If you start writing complex big code, it's again JShell itself is a painful task for you. So generally, this is recommended only to write small code. Okay, scope is very less, and you can't declare package declarations and all those things. And REPL is not for an IDE. It is not an IDE actually. It is just an editor. You just a normal your text editor kind of stuff where you write something and execute it. Okay.
Okay. So what about declaring a package in?
You can't do that. You can't do that.
No. In Sublime text editor.
No, Sublime is just to type your content like this,
Okay.
right? It is nothing to do with your Sublime actually where you compile and execute the code.
Okay.
Instead of this Swing application, you can same thing. You can write it on your Sublime text also, or some editor.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, let me get back to the next topic, very important topic. This is basically adding in Java 9. There are some factory methods that has been introduced. One of them is off method. Off is a method actually. Okay, so what is the advantage of this, and why this got introduced in Java 9? The biggest advantage with this one is, let's say if I want to write some immutable list or immutable set or map, right? What you will do, you generally what we do is we write the code, okay, and then we call it as with a collections unmodifiable list, unmodifiable set, unmodifiable map, right? That's what we do, right? So instead of that, Java has provided some flexibility to the developers that instead of searching for these collections which is not related to your list and all, so it provides a facility wherein you can directly call this off, and that will give you the list of the immutable list. You don't have to call unmodifiable list or unmodifiable set and all those things. Okay. Any questions before I show it on the editor?
No, sir.
Okay. Let me get back to the code actually. Now I'm going to use actual IDE here. I'll not be using something. Okay. I'll quickly show you here what and all we can do. Okay. This is what we do, right? Generally, let's say I have some list where I have added ABC. Okay. Then I'm going to print the list 2 here. I just get this. So can I do this? Can somebody help me here? List 2 dot add. Okay. This is what I done. Will this work? Let me try. It is throwing error. Why? Because you can't modify an unmodifiable list. That means this list is immutable. You can't change anything. Once it is created, that's all. You can't change anything. This is our existing Java feature. In Java 6 itself, I think this feature is there, unmodifiable list and all. So this is the existing feature. So what is new with the Java 9? That's what I'm trying to explain here. Same thing, same thing, whatever you have written here, right? Same thing, what I'll do is I'll write it using, I'll just comment this code. I don't want this code. Like I don't want this code. Okay, so what I'll do is list string list 3. I'll call it a list 3. Here, list of, okay. Here you can pass A, you can pass B, you can pass C. Okay, now here we say list 3. Okay, let me execute this code. Here list 3 are seeing, right? ABC. ABC is getting printed here. So again on the ABC on list 3, I can't modify this. Again, it will throw the same error. Unmodifiable operation, something like that. Immutable collection, you can't change it. So this is working as expected. Only the difference is instead of calling collections.unmodifiable list, you are calling list.off. Okay, getting my point? So this is what I'm trying to just show you here. Okay. Now same thing if I want to do for set. I'll do for set. Set dot off. We pass A, B, and C. I don't have import for this, I think. Okay, Now, this out. Set. Why it is throwing error? Because of this. Okay, see, set. So you know, right, in set you can't add duplicate elements. Now if I add any one of these A, B, C again, it will throw the compilation errors, run the again here. So you can't do anything here. And once this set is created, you can't do anything. So all this basically you can just experiment on this. Now coming back to the map quickly. So in map also, you can create unmodifiable map with this one. The first one is a key, and second one is a value. So first one is the key and second is one as the value. So now you got the map, and this is what the map I'm just printing it. Any questions? This is very simple feature that they have added. Instead of using collections dot unmodifiable list, unmodifiable set, unmodifiable map, so they are given a flexible method called off, list of off. So that will give you unmodifiable list, immutable list, immutable set, or immutable map. That's all it is actually. Any questions?
Could you repeat that one more time, please? Like why we use this off method?
No, this is just another way of writing your immutable method, immutable list.
If you add,
See, you have already this unmodifiable list in the existing JDK 6.
Okay.
Instead of this, Java 9 has introduced this. That's all.
Okay.
One more method for your immutable list. You know what is immutable, right? Once you add something, you can't change it.
Right.
Yeah, that immutability can be achieved using this unmodifiable as well as with this also.
Okay.
With this approach also you can do that.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. This is just one feature, one small feature they have added. Okay. Just wanted to highlight that. I think this is what we experimented it. I showed you before Java 9 and after Java 9. Okay, let's quickly go to the next topic. Okay. Can somebody help me to read this code, above code, card interface? Please, I want someone to help me. Let's remove this private here and put default method. And it could be default method for this. Default void show. Very nice. Basically, the reason why I'm asking this one is I want to explain some concept here. Okay, here implementation goes, right? Okay. Why do we need, let me put it in a simple way. Why do we need so what is private method? Can anybody help me?
private method can be accessible only for that class.
Correct, but this is interface.
Oh.
They have introduced private methods in interface.
Then how can we implement that?
Yes, that's a trick, right? So first of all, for a developer or for a normal this one, if you see in one angle, it doesn't make sense to add a private method in an interface. Correct?
Yes.
It doesn't make sense because My class actually uses some private method. I can understand because I need it within my class and I want to play with that method. If I write interface, within interface, if I write a private method, it doesn't make sense for me because if I write private method within my interface, okay, who is going to use it?
Only that interface can able to use that.
No. I think you're missing Java 8. We have a feature, default method. You forgot that. Yes. That's a question. Why do we need private methods in interface? So the answer for this is, see, I have let's say the main intention for adding default method is to add some implementation to my interface wherein whoever is using my interface can make use of that method directly without writing any code, right? That's the main intention of writing default method. Let's say Java interface, somebody has written a default method. And this default method is having a huge code base. Huge code base means, let's say I have about 500 lines of code, which is doing some business logic. Instead of show, so complex some business logic. This is my method name. Okay, this is my logic that I have written here. Is it make sense to write a complex code in one method? Generally, we don't do, right? We generally split that code into multiple methods for modularity. So we decouple the code. So each method will do only one operation, correct? That's a design principle that we follow, correct? So as per that, in complex scenario, let's say, where is this method? Yeah, this is my complex business case, okay? So implementation, one goes here, then again, after some lines of code about, let's say, just assume that this method is having 500 lines of code. Then implementation 2 goes here. Impl 2. Then impl 3. Likewise, you write, right? So that's basically from design principle point of view, that's not good to write everything in one method. One method, only one functionality. You have to do it, right? For that purpose, this private method will help now. With Java 9, what you will do, one part you will write it in this method, this second implementation you write it in another private method, third one in another private method. So your code look clean, correct? That's the main advantage with writing private methods in interface. Same thing applies for a private static method also. Any questions? Any questions? I'm trying to help you understand the concepts of different features that got added to our Java. This one. This I think we were here. Correct? This is a question which I actually asked you people. Why do we need a private method? Because that doesn't make sense for me when you actually see. Who is going to use it if I write a private method? Correct? That's all about this topic. Any questions before I jump into next topic?
Is there any limitation to define the default methods inside the interface?
You can have only one default method.
But here we have used some other like static methods.
Yeah, static also you can have default method as well as static methods.
Okay.
I think, did you attend last default methods topic which I covered last week?
Sorry, I think.
Yeah, I think I have covered all of them.
Okay, thank you.
Now coming back to the next topic. Try with resource improvement. This is a very small improvement. So I'll just skip this one and I'll just quickly go through it. I will not go line by line. The only difference is in Java 8, to read this reader, right? Let's say I have some file called readme.txt that you are reading it. Okay. So once you get this buffer reader, what you do is in Java 8, you have to assign that buffer reader to my try with resources. You know, try with resources is introduced in Java 7 onwards. So wherein this B reader one has to be assigned to BR, then I can use this BR in my method. This is with Java 8. This is a small change, very minor change. So why do we need this temporary variable? So I don't need it. So directly I can use it. So this is one small change that they have introduced. The red and the green is the difference with Java 9 feature. Any questions? This is basically one feature got introduced. Okay, next coming to the very important topic. Okay, that is before I jump into this topic, I just want to fire a few questions to you people. So, how do you manage or organize classes in Java? I think most of you are developers, so you should be able to answer this question quickly. How do you manage or organize classes in Java? In your application or in your office work, you generally in your application, in your project, you'll do this. How do you manage?
Packages.
Yes, you're right. So you manage everything based on the packages. Correct?
Yes.
So what is package? Package is your logical grouping of your classes. Correct? Let's
Yes.
take an example of your application. You have, let's say, MVC architecture, the application. You have all your models in your model folder, all your controllers or controller folder, all your view will be some views, right? That's how you typically do this. Correct? This is a very simple case wherein you split it. Assume your application is a huge application, about 1,000 employees are working on that application, and it is very huge application. So imagine number of your packages. The packages itself might cross hundreds plus, right? 100, 200, it will be in hundreds. In some application, it might be in thousands. So in each application, in small application also, we write about 50 to 100 packages, because each package will do its one job, correct? So likewise, you add different packages. Just imagine a very big project. There you have thousands of your packages, correct? So it goes crazy, right? Next, there's a next question. How do you achieve reusability in Java?
Inheritance.
Inheritance, and then what else? Inheritance and what else? Your polymorphism is also a usability of your code, right?
Yes. Polymorphism.
Correct? Yes,
Yes.
I'm trying to find these questions because the next topic which I'm going to cover, that will help actually for you people. Sorry, sir. Okay. So the main intention is how do you achieve reusability in Java? The answer is your inheritance, that can be a class inheritance or interface inheritance, and as well as your polymorphism. Okay. And there is another way of doing is using scope. Correct? The third way of reusability of your code base is scope. Basically, if you declare any class as public, anybody can use it. If you declare it as a
Yes.
private, only in that class it can be used. Correct? So these are different ways you scope your functionality. Okay. And the next one is, how do you manage your jars in your application? Assume you have a very big application, and each application has many modules, and each module generates each different set of jars. Okay, all these things, how do you manage? Currently, how do we manage it in the existing system? If I ask you,
We'll make that as a library, as a third-party library.
okay,
We'll import.
yes, you're right. You're partially right. Yes, I want some more people to answer, because there is a very big concept which I'm going to explain now. Okay, so let me explain then. So to manage your jars, right? So what we do is we create a jar, multiple jars, and we put it all of them as a library and put them in a WAR file, and that WAR file is the one which are going to use it if it is a web application. Okay, if it is a jar based server side application, then you will have hundreds of jar files created, and you put all these things in your class path and you execute it. Correct? That's how you do, right? Any questions? Any questions? Any concerns? Can I proceed? Okay, let me
Yes.
proceed. Okay, this is the concept of Java 9's module system. So Jigsaw project is basically Java 7 project. So Oracle was wanted to add this this feature module system in Java 7. Due to some other priorities, so they did not add. Now in the since Java 8 was a very big release, so they did not add it there. In Java 9, they added this concept called module system. So what is this module system? So if you read this sentence aside, this will give you overall picture of what is module system. It is basically to manage your packages and jars as module. Okay, so it is not to manage your classes, it is to manage your packages. So you have to go one level above. To manage your class, use package. To manage your packages, you use module.
Okay.
Got it? So, any questions? So if you see second line, modules are nothing but package management system in Java 9. And along with package management system, accessibility of those modules or packages can also be partially, you can make use of the functionality wherein partial of code will not be shown, will not be exposed, and some part of the code will be exposed. So there's some kind of scoping that you do it using accessibility. Okay, the very big advantage which is decentralize the application using module. That means you have a very huge application. Everything is dependent. Let's say the application, if you want to start, okay, someone has to start, and there are so many dependencies on that application. So all these things can be decentralized now. That means each application runs its own. Okay, if you want to include, you include it. If you don't want to include, don't include it. This is, see, don't confuse with import. Import is different. This module, decentralizing module is different. Import is just to import your jar file in your local, in your package, in your class path, and use it, right? That's where more of your understanding of your coding of your application. This is more of your at a very application level, wherein you want to divide the application into multiple pieces. Okay. Next one, the better organizing of the JDK. So if you see in Java till Java 8, right? So Java till Java 8, your JDK, the complete JDK is having hundreds of jar files. Okay, each jar does its own job. Let me show you something here, very interesting thing. Okay, this is my JDK 1.8. If I 1.8, let me see in JDK 1.8 itself. Okay, how many jar files it has? Let me search here. If you see here, there are about 724 jar files are available here. If you see here in the bottom, on the left side, here on the cursor, there are 724 jar files are available in JDK 1.8 alone. Okay, so 724 jars. Each jar does its own job, and it's very complex, right? So many jars, so many packages, so many. I would say now it might have crossed not hundreds, thousands, right? Now it's very difficult, right, to manage that entire JDK. This become a very big monolithic application altogether. JDK itself will become a monolithic system, correct? So Java 9 has introduced the concept of module system, wherein now they have broken this into multiple pieces. In my opinion, I think they are going towards the microservice architecture, wherein each module does its own job. Wherever it needs, it takes the other modules help and import it. Okay. Any questions? Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay. Let me proceed. I think it is little hard to understand, learn. but this is the concept of your module system. Okay, so quickly I'll go through it. So in module, there are two concepts, components within the module. One is the one which is exported outside world. That's called exported packages. The other one is concealed package. Concealed package means it is not exposed, but it is being internally used. That's called concealed packages. So okay, this is the concept of your module. Okay, if you see this diagram, so I have exported this one. The blue is the one which is exposed outside the module, so that others can use it. The other one is concealed packages, that is only internally used. It is not available outside. This total together is called module. Any questions? Okay, let me go to the this one diagram. Now, if you see, Java now has divided into java.base. This is the base module, wherein it will have java.io, java.lang, java.util, java.net, and other important packages. I have not added all of them here. There are so many such packages which are exposed so that anybody can use it. This is called exported packages, which is under java.base in Java 9 module onwards. Okay. This is something like which is internally used, sun.security.provider, etc. And there are so many such packages here. You can see all these packages here. See, com.sun tools, visual VM, com. So all these org.netbeans. So if these all internal to within the module, right? So that's where they don't want these to be exposed outside. It is internally being used. Okay. So there is a syntax how you write your Java.base. Okay, to write a Java.base, you should write all this. This is a syntax. You should have a public class module -name info, and then you have to define module, and you have to give the module name, and you have to add all your packages. Which are all packages you have to expose outside my module. So this is my syntax. This you have to add under the file called module info.java. This is syntax. Any questions? Any questions?
It means like again we need to write some this kind of code snippet to import the module.
Yes. I'll quickly show that. I'll not go into detail because it's a little like kind of time consuming.
It's complex, like becoming complex, right?
It's not complex. It is not complex. It is just time consuming because I have only 10 minutes more. That's all. That's the reason. Okay. I'll just quickly show it here. So this is what I wanted to do. Create two modules and add each package to it. So what I did is, so how to do that? So you can just Google it. I think you should be able to find it. I have a employee Java class I have written here. Okay. I have, if you do right click here and go to here configure, you should be able to add create a module info. When you click on this, okay, this file gets created. If you see, I'm exposing demo.user package. Demo.user package, I want to explore it. Export it. So I'm exporting this one like this. This is the syntax what I was explaining on the PPT. So then I have one more added called admin user, for example. The admin user also I did the same thing. Okay, I added export admin.user as this module. Okay, outside the world, and I want demo.user which I created earlier to this package. So I'll have to add requires, then it will add it here. Somehow it is not compiling. You need to check this out, but you can try it out the similar way. And you write your Java class, a public static void admin, and if you execute, it will run as it is without any further changes from your side. Okay, this is just a glimpse of how module system works. Okay, one important thing is there is one document for this. You can refer this document. I think if you go to again open JDK, here module system quick start guide. This will explain you how you can do. There are some examples, quick examples. You can just try it out. How you can do, how you can organize your packages. Okay, all these things they have explained it here. You can just refer this document. I think this will help you because this is official document, right? So it will have a lot of information which is required for you. You can refer on any other tutorial also, but this is actually a good source of information, official information. Okay. So by this, I'll just stop this module component because I need to cover 2 more slides. Okay. Any questions? Okay.
For internal module, no need to export anything, right? For internal.
Internal means?
Suppose you said we have few models we want to export to the outside world.
Mm-hmm.
Then we need to export that and to use as a required as syntax.
Yes.
Okay.
Internal means, let's say you want to use within your package.
Yes.
Then you don't have to expose it. Let's say you want to expose some API. You obviously need, right? So that's where you use it.
Okay.
Okay. The final 2 slides. I have 8 more minutes. That's all. So I want just cover all of them. There are some features that got introduced with Java 9. One is diamond in anonymous class. So you know what is diamond, right? So in your class, I think I have written a simple example for that. Java anonymous, yeah. Earlier, you can't write this one. This diamond, you can't write it. For an anonymous class, it used to give error. Now with Java 9, they added this diamond. That's a only small introduction, basically updation to the existing anonymous class behavior. And there's one more called @safe var args. This was only applicable when you have this annotation safe var args. So you know var args, right? You put 3 dots and use it, right? So with the var safe arg, we can use it for private methods also. Earlier only static and final methods only we can use it. Now we can use this one also. This is a very minor enhancement. And there is one more process API enhancement wherein there are some operating system related APIs wherein you can use this. So for example, when you are execute your application, right, on your in your environment, Java, let's say you are running on Windows or Mac, right? So you want to execute the system level information. What is the process name? Generally, what we used to do is we used to put PS equal to PS ID. We used to search grep the name of your Java. All these things we used to do, right? All these things, now it is little simplified. There are some process handler methods available. When you execute it and run it, let's say if you run it using JShell, you can see all the operations like a child name, parent name, process ID name, all these things you can get it using this process API improvement. And there's one more new introduction called in Java 9 is Java versioning string scheme. So basically the major version name, like let's say Java 14, like 14 dot minor version name and security version name and patch. This is the syntax that they are just following it. When you execute this at runtime, right, you will see what is the major version, what is minor version, what is the security version of all these things, what is the build number, everything you will get it. Okay, this just want to explain on this concept. Okay, the final one is in Java. So in Java, when you open Java, you will see some control panel, right? Java control panel that I think it was developed using Swing. And I think they have rewritten this one with the JavaFX, so that it has better look and feel and all. So you can execute with the jcontrol command on your terminal, and it will show you that good look and feel of the JavaFX. And then this is one stream APIs. I was telling you earlier, I think some time back, they have added few more methods. And, these are default methods that they added to the stream interface. And there are some 2 static methods, iterate and nullable, got added. So this is a new thing that they have introduced it. Maybe let's quickly go through each one of them. So this method is basically predicate. So what is predicate? Again, if you remember my stream API, right? Let me go to the stream. Stream. If you see here, these intermediate operations, whatever you're trying to do, this is your basically called as predicates. So these predicates can be used with this There is one more method called drop while is added. What is the function of drop while? So let's say you have some list and you want to drop all of them until some condition fails. Till that point, you want to drop it. So you can use this drop while for that. Just opposite to that is take while. Till that point, you take it till that condition fails. Okay. Iterate it is basically one more new method got added. It has 3 arguments: 1, 2, and 3. If you see the comma, right, you can easily check it out. 1, and then 2, and this is 3. So what this method is doing is, I have a one number till the number reaches 30. You multiply 1 with 3, and then assign back that number with this one 3. That means it will print 1, then 3, then 3 into 3 9, then 9 into 3 27. So it will print like this: 1 3 9 27. That's all, because less than 30, till less than 30. That's what it is doing it. This is one more for each method which is introduced in Java 8. This one, with this you can just print everything in one line. This is basically entire stuff is in one line. Till this point is just a one line execution. If you write, if you want to write the same code using Java 6 or Java 7, right, it will take at least 10 to 15 lines of code. That everything, at least 10 lines. I would say more than 10 lines. Everything you have written now in one line. Off nullable is basically the stream itself is null, so it will give you an empty stream instead of throwing null pointer exception. Okay, in Java 9 again one more enhancement is some enhancement for the Microsoft Windows the installation, JDK installations. So JDK installation on Windows, they have done some improvements to that. So I think that's the more of Java 9. Any questions? Any concerns?
What is this J control?
This is you will see Java, right? The control panel, Java control. You can open your controller in control panel. You can open Java, right? It will tell what is the version, what all things it has. There's the one swing application which shows you. If you go to program files, Java, and execute, right, there's one window comes.
Yes.
So that window, they have replaced the swing application with the Java FX.
Okay.
This is not specific. Some students are specific to developers. Sometimes we see if we are doing it, but generally we don't see this. Rarely we see this version. Generally we just try it out with the Java command and we know what's command, what version we have. Okay, so this covers Java 9 features. Most of the features have covered it with some example. Due to time constraint, I could not complete the exercise. This one, I wanted to do this exercise. I think this will take some 5 to 10 minutes. So I just skip this, so you can just give a try by yourself. So I think that covers most of the stuff. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
This session recording.